All right, we are done with the chapter of the book of Matthew. I did chapter 28 yesterday, and it was amazing. The epiphanies that popped in my head. I used to be my first platoon in the SEAL teams. I was an intelligence rep, and you had to go through message traffic and figure out what it really said. It was really hard to read. There's a lot of information, like where the information came from and all this kind of stuff that had really no bearing on the content of the message traffic. They need to figure out, like, okay, what this has happened here, and this happened yesterday, this happened today. What's going on? What direction are they moving? And that was my job. And then I had to put a brief together and brief everybody else in the platoon in real English, right? So they didn't have to go through that process. And this is in the Middle East. This was in the Persian Gulf during the Iran-Iraq War in 1988. So what's going on? Christ has been crucified. He'd been put in a tomb. This is these Roman soldiers that basically did the work, crucified Christ. He saw the earthquake and the lightning, and they said, these Roman soldiers that witnessed this said, he is truly the Son of God. Boom. That was the beginning. Their belief system was engaged. That was the beginning of the church in Rome. Right, then he's put in a tomb for 3 days, and the angel of God comes, and he's magnificent, illuminating. The soldiers that were guarding the tomb passed out. All right, and the tomb was rolled away, and Christ risen and left the tomb. Okay, the Jewish leaders bribed these Roman soldiers to tell a lie that they fell asleep, and the disciples came in and stole the body. Right now, they're like, we fall, that's dereliction. They're gonna kill us. And they said, what if I promise you that ain't gonna happen? And that lie's been perpetuated ever since. But those Roman soldiers knew it was a lie. Okay, they experienced what they experienced. Again, that's more fortification for the Roman people, the people of Rome, other than Jews, right? Then now think about that. Just think about what do you think? How do you think what do you think Romans thought of Jews after seeing them crucify Christ and then pay a bribe to lie? That's huge, right? Something they teach you in SEAL training. If you ever get captured by the enemy, admit nothing, deny everything, make counter accusations. And then from that point on, anytime somebody starts making an excuse, somebody will yell, admit nothing, deny everything, make counter accusations. And everybody laughs, right? But it's like, that's the anatomy of a lie. Okay, there was Jason Cisneros got on live this morning talking about politicians, and you can hear them be incongruent. They're lying. It is so hard for me to work for anybody once I figure out I'm smarter than they are. And it's happened. And but especially if I catch somebody lying, all right, or just making an excuse to get after you, some little minuscule thing, and they blow it up, right? I don't listen. I just stop. I'm like, you are insignificant anymore. I mean, and somebody just wants to have a reason to bag on you, right? And they look for any little thing, and then they find it, and they do it, and you're like, you know what? Go away. Okay. All right. So that it all unfolds when you look. This is amazing. Okay. Here we got this guy, Muhammad, who's the nephew of the Pope in Rome of the Catholic Church. All right. And he goes out in the desert and meditates and fasts and gets the words for the Quran. Now he's going to go to the Jews, right, and show them the his revelation, and they get excited about it at first because it's very similar to the Ten Commandments. But then they start to quiz him on the heritage, and he knows nothing about Abraham and Isaac and Abraham, Isaac, and Ishmael. He doesn't know anything about Jacob and Esau. He knows nothing about any of that, right? And then they start to ridicule him, all right? He gets offended. Okay, that's important. All right, then these other Jews that are more friendly, they go and teach him the history, but they teach him how how mistreated Moses mistreated Abraham mistreated the maidservant and their son, all right, Ishmael, and he was older, but he wasn't given the birthright, right? And then how Jacob conned Esau out of his blessing and inheritance, right? And so here's this. He's thinking, okay, these guys can't be trusted, okay? And then he builds up his army and goes and takes over Jerusalem, right? And then the Pope's going, okay, now it's time to turn it over to us. And he goes, no, I don't think so. We took it, it's ours, right? Bam, there goes the Crusades, right? All right, and that's major strife between Christians and Islam, okay? And then so this is how it all goes, right? And all this offense. So the whole Old Testament is all about offenses that just never end, and they were at each other and forever because they can't get over their offense, right? And here comes Christ, comes along, and it's like, drop your offenses, forgive, repent, focus on God, right? Make God your whole. God the Father is everything and in everything, and He's who you need to put your attention on, right? Okay, and that's what that's his message. Here was his example, right? He just didn't let nothing bother him. He's standing in front of Pilate, getting judged, knowing the outcome, and not trying to defend himself at all. His purpose is he's got a date with the cross. Isn't that wild? Okay, and he gets it done, right? And oh yeah. But at the Last Supper, they set up a rally point in Galilee, right? And so after the resurrection, he meets with all the disciples in Galilee. They had a rally. We used to do it in the SEAL team, when you're planning an op, and you point out a place. Okay, we get split up. Everybody meets here. Looks like it's awesome. Okay, and it can actually save a mission when you have a rally point. And so that's what they did. Okay, but here it is. Okay, Christ is telling us all along right, is, those that don't accept me, you're going to get burned away like chaff, right? But those that, you're going to be replaced by those who are committed. You're going to be replaced by people that'll do the work. Okay. And that's what evangelism's all about, is if things aren't going right, you bring in new people, the fresh ones. Okay. And this whole Celebrate Recovery thing is ingenious, right? Celebrate Recovery, they need to have, Rick Warren came up with Celebrate Recovery, right? And it is just so well thought out, and it will get to whatever is eating you and help you figure it out and get rid of it, and then you're free. Okay. And I'm thinking last night, I'm thinking, wow, Rick Warren is promoting Islam, right? I'll tell you what, he gets a lot of criticism about it, right? And I'm not totally understanding it all, but if anybody can help the Muslims, all right, get down and just quench that burning ember in them that's messing with their emotions all the way back 4,000 years, it's going to be Rick Warren. Okay. And I might get some blowback by this, but you don't know what I know. All right. Celebrate Recovery needs to be going to Iraq and Syria and Turkey, right? And everywhere else. But that's the whole thing. You got to drop your offenses. Ask forgiveness for sins and repent and get washed clean and free up and focus on God. In that, you got to read the scriptures. You got to read them, right? If you hear something, it takes 66 times to hear something before it actually becomes part of you, right? 66 times. So don't get upset when somebody tells you something once and they don't get it, right? It takes 21 times to do something.